I don't really know if this right here is the case of the pot calling the kettle black, or if this right here is, I hate to say it, genuine.
Open arms. Why? Because he switched up his grift. And he realized that establishment grift is the best grift of all. You set up a nonprofit, they funnel you $500,000.
What's up, guys? John Claymore here, and welcome back to my channel. Now, guys, before we talk about Cenk calling out Al Sharpton on his racial grift, there's going to be a couple of things in this video. It's going to be sprinkled throughout the video, so make sure you guys just kind of bear with me as I kind of explain this one, because there's actually a lot into this one in such a short amount of time that needs to be explained, especially about Al Sharpton. However, the thing is this right here. Many people are looking at this and they're thinking to themselves that Cenk is in a bit of a redemption arc, especially given the fact that Cenk recently debated Hassan Piker and made Hassan Piker look like, well, Hassan Piker. Of course, that's Cenk's nephew. But still, though, we'll be talking about that in Tuesday's video, or at least the first video of Tuesday. The first 4 videos of this week are going to be focused a little bit more on progressives. Of course, that right there being the video that I released at 12, which is about the future of DEI and Roland Martin. We'll actually probably bring that up a little bit during this video right here as well, because it kind of goes to the whole racial grift, at least the racial grift amongst certain influencers, especially those who work for companies like, say, MSDNC or even Roly Poly Oly, who actually was used a lot on Fox News, used a lot on CNN to kind of get certain narratives across. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video. And of course, there's also this other little beef that's going on between Anna Kasparian and Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer will be coming up a little bit later on this week too, because we also got to talk about what was going on with her and Molly Yiannopoulos, because if you guys saw the Timcast IRL episode the other night with Molly Yiannopoulos and you got the information about what was actually going on with her, you probably would be either A, extremely stunned, or B, not surprised given the MO of Ms. Loomer. But I wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way before we got started. Now that we are actually into the video, make sure you guys please hit the like button, cut the notifications on for the channel so that way you guys are notified when the videos come out. And let us go ahead and get into this. So there's been this little, how do I say, this little bit of information that has come out about the Kamala Harris campaign, that they've actually found a way to blow roughly, I'll put it this way here, they raised like $1.4 billion. It's a scandal. Of course, she's proud of the fact that they raised $1.4 billion. She even did a video the other night on Twitter that she released to her followers where she appeared to be drunk and confused and talked about how proud she was that they raised $1.4 billion. However, the scandal here is the fact that they paid a lot of influencers a lot of money that they probably should not have paid. And it has recently come out, just wanted to add this in for further clarification, that Kamala Harris is still sending campaign fundraising emails out to her donors. A lot's going to be coming out over the next 4 years, trust me. Or, as you guys will see here in the very beginning, yeah, it's sort of the usual suspects.
Kamala Harris.
I hope that, and I really do work that my life will have proven to have been a life that is about fighting for the people.
The cost of that softball interview was a whopping $500,000. That is what the Harris campaign provided to Al Sharpton's nonprofit prior to her sit-down interview with Sharpton, and that's certainly...
Now, you guys saw that, and obviously there's more, and there's also a lot of dirty stuff to go behind this. But before we get to that, and before we get to Anna explaining the rest of that, and eventually Cenk calling out Sharpton for what he really and truly is, let's go ahead and talk about some of the other people that they have apparently paid off. Apparently, the Harris campaign gave Oprah Winfrey money. Apparently, they gave the girl from the Call Her Daddy podcast money. Of course, she's now in hot water with her fan base over that. We have no idea exactly how much money she paid to other influencers. I would be patient on Shannon Sharp because, remember, she went on the Club Shay Shay podcast, and she also went on the podcast All the Smoke with Matt Barnes. Those guys there, too. You're probably going to see a lot more come out about who got paid off to give this woman some type of press. And, of course, Al Sharpton, he seems to be the target for this video here. But, by the way, he's not the only one. There was also Roly Poly Oly, who I mentioned in the previous video about Walmart getting rid of DEI. And, of course, he also received cash as well. Nobody should be surprised, especially given his past, because he claims he's a journalist, but he's really about just giving softball interviews. But, of course, this right here is something that, let's just say, one political side of the aisle is looking awfully hard into, and they're saying, yeah, this right here may have not been the right way to go, and yeah, we look like complete total dumbasses. We also look completely dishonest, and also to go on top of that, this right here is probably one of the reasons why is that we're losing trust with our own voter base. But enough of that there. Let's get back to Anna's explanation of what exactly is going on with Sharpton.
National Action Network, an anti-discrimination group, on September 5th and on October 1st, the second coming weeks before Sharpton interviewed Harris on the network. Now, Sharpton did not mention the contributions that the Harris campaign made to his nonprofit at all. There was no disclosure about it whatsoever. And as far as MSNBC goes, they told Chuck Ross at the Washington Free Beacon that they were unaware of the campaign donation. Or the donation to the nonprofit owned by Al Sharpton. Now, that could be true. I don't know, but MSNBC would not confirm whether they're considering reprimanding Sharpton, if there's going to be any consequences for this.
Newsflash, Anna, he will not be reprimanded. I'll link this New York Post article in the description box for you guys. I advise you guys check it out because apparently a lot of Sharpton's colleagues are not exactly happy about the money. Now, guys, you may be thinking to yourself, you're saying payoffs, payouts, but these are donations. They're payoffs, trust me. But still, the point is this right here. I just like to call it for what the hell it is. It's a payoff. Which, by the way, also tells you that nobody on the left, nobody in the Democratic Party, none of these Democratic Party influencers are actually really and truly all about what it is that they claim that they are. I've been saying this for a very, very long time, that most of Hollywood is just good old-fashioned spokesmen. There's even this little bit out there that's coming out that apparently George Clooney is pissed off because he felt like he was duped by Obama, or he feels pissed off like he was manipulated. That's actually coming out, that his op-ed in the Washington Post, where he basically said that Joe Biden needed to step down. He's kind of regretting that. And of course, at the same time, he's also throwing Obama under the bus. It's going to be a very, very interesting 4 years, guys. I'm telling you right now. It's part of the reason why it is I'm making this post-2020, this 2024 post-mortem, obviously in the final month of the year, because as you guys know, I'm going to be switching some of this stuff up. But there is something else too that I was going to sprinkle out here in a second. But the fact of the matter is this right here. A lot of stuff is going to be coming out in the next 4 years, and you're going to be looking back on the videos that I make right here at the end of the month, and you're going to be saying to yourself, God, I was 100% correct. Now, but let's get back to the rest of this before we get to Cenk.
Journalism, it builds distrust among their audiences and places a black eye on both their network and the profession. So, you know, earlier, I think it was last week, we had Representative Ro Khanna on the show, and we asked him the questions we wanted to ask him. Had Ro Khanna provided a donation to a nonprofit that doesn't exist, I don't have a nonprofit, I would at least have to disclose that to you, but that would be a conflict of interest. I wouldn't have taken that money to begin with, because that money influences the way you're gonna carry out this interview.
Okay, can we just be honest? Al Sharpton is the original grifter. So if you don't know, back in the days in New York, anytime there was any kind of racial conflict, this fat ass would show up in a jumpsuit, and he would demagogue against Jews, by the way, specifically, and get people super mad to the point where they nearly attacked Jewish people. And he was a...
Cenk, you might not want to be talking about attacking Jewish people. I mean, I'm just simply saying. But still, though, Cenk's actually not lying here. Al Sharpton is one hell of a grifter. Before I go into detail and give you some examples, I want you guys to hear this really quick, okay? Because it also goes back to my Thanksgiving video, which will be in the description box of this video right here as well. Okay, so bear with me really quick. The channel that I'm creating for 2025 to coincide with this one in Gear Issue 33 is a channel that's going to be basically a basic history and media. It's going to talk about crimes and also certain personalities, certain people, and certain incidents that occurred. You know, terrorist incidents, shootings, things like that there, but also the media side of it, of course. And one of those figures that will be covered is Al Sharpton. Of course, I'll be covering all these in separate incidents, but let me go ahead and just kind of go through some of the incidents that he was involved in. There was the Tawana Brawley incident that led to the famous, well, let me just show you.
After the shenanigans with him and the other soldiers.
That's a lot of crap.
No, brother, you have your time.
That's a lot of crap.
Brother,
and I got
brother,
it.
no,
I got it.
no.
I got it.
Oh, no.
Shove from Roy Ennis. There was that incident. There was also the incident that Cenk is talking about involving the Jewish community in Brooklyn, and it's actually pretty much all of Long Island, the riots that occurred there. And of course, if you ask me, the one that really made Al Sharpton famous, which will be one of the first videos that I cover on said channel, which of course you guys will get more details on over the course of the final month of the year, will be on the incident involving Bernard Goetz, the original subway shooter. Al Sharpton has made a living off of grifting, off of race grifting. The exact same way that Roly-Poly Oly is doing right now with this whole Walmart DEI stuff. Let me remind you guys.
Companies can clearly see that America wants normalcy back. The era of wokeness is dying right in front of our eyes. The landscape of corporate America is quickly shifting to sanity and neutrality. We're now the trend, not the anomaly. Joe, did I not call it?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a grift. That right there was over a minute of hearing somebody screaming and hollering about how it is that they plan on getting rid of DEI, how it is that they are going after critical race theory. Critical race theory is extremely divisive. I don't think I need to do a video on that, but Al Sharpton is one of those many characters involved in this. By the way, there was also one more payoff that I do want to talk about very, very briefly, and it was this payoff of this thing called the Black News Network. This right also included Roly-Poly Oly's agency. It also included Mark Lamont Hill. It also included a lot of other CRT racial grifters out there, which, by the way, I find it funny that someone like Ibram X. Kennedy has disappeared. Just simply saying, I find it kind of odd he's not around. But they're upset because they're not getting the money, and they're also upset because the ratings or the viewership of their channels are down. Well, it's probably because you have it as a channel news network set to a certain demographic that's not even the chief minority in the country anymore. There might be the real reason why. But of course, you've also got other people out there who are basically saying that, look, where was our money at? And basically, everybody's fighting one another is what it is. This right here is ultimately what the racial grift eventually turns into. It turns into basically a great big giant load of chaos. But Cenk does go further in explaining Al Sharpton's grift. Let's get back to it.
An absolute menace in the New York area, okay? And then all that got magically forgiven. Why did it get forgiven when that stuff never gets forgiven?
Why did it get forgiven?
Because he decided to embrace professional corruption. He was running 2-bit scams back in the day because he didn't know any better, right? But he's a smart guy, so he wisened up and he's like, oh, the way the professionals do this is they kiss the ass of the donors, they kiss the ass of the politicians, and they get the real money, the big money. And did he shake down a lot of businesses saying, hey, if you don't give me money, I'm gonna call you racist? Okay, go ahead and catch feelings. Yes, he did, okay?
It's true, very true. There's also another grift that was talked about by another person here on this platform who's been in conservative politics for a very long time. His name is Glenn Beck. I've talked about Glenn before. I still listen to Glenn from time to time. And it's going to be very hard for me to find the clip, but I may try to link something in the description box that kind of explains what I mean by this. It's called a pound of flesh for a pound of flesh. Back in the day when Fox News was first created, Al Sharpton was, and by the way, Glenn Beck was working there, I think in the early 2000s, and of course, eventually around 2000. He also worked for CNN too, but at that time, you had Sharpton would basically start something, and then next thing you know, he would be going into, something would get messed up, and he would go into Roger Ailes' office and demand a pound of flesh. But then when they would screw up something, then they would obviously, that there being Roger Ailes, would demand a pound of flesh from Al Sharpton and the race grifters. It's all one great big giant hustle. It always has been. But the issue, the part where Cenk was talking about Al Sharpton going into businesses and shaking them down, saying that you're racist, that right there is one of the cheapest gags ever. And it's not just synonymous with Al Sharpton. It's been going on ever since the word grift was even thing. When people actually learn how to grift, this right here is how they actually started. It's good old-fashioned extortion. And Sharpton did this crap throughout the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. The 80s obviously being the decade of his actual prominence. I mean, we look back on Sharpton nowadays when he was all great, big, giant, and fat. We look back at him and we kind of laugh at that and we think, oh, jolly old Al. No. Al Sharpton was never jolly. He's always been a scammer and a grifter. But let's let Cenk cook here.
And do you want to know how Comcast was allowed to merge and actually acquire NBC and MSNBC? They had a massive race problem. Al Sharpton came in and said, no, they don't. They don't have any race problem. Guess where Al Sharpton wound up? Hired by Comcast at MSNBC. Funny how that works, right? He got way better on his grift, okay? And he's been taking this kind of money his whole life, and that's why he does the softball interviews. That's why if you criticize Al Sharpton in the old days, people are like, God damn, yes. Now if you criticize Al Sharpton, they go, well, you're being a racist. Racist!
Let me play that again.
Racist! Racist!
I really like how Cenk did that. Now, real quick. I don't want to sound like I'm buttering Cenk's rolls a little bit too much here, but a lot of people are saying that they think that Cenk is going through a bit of a redemption arc here because of all the tweets that have come out, which I'll go much further into detail and in the video that I have on his debate with Hassan, or the little bit that was debated there. I don't personally think that he's trying to change. I think that what it is that the grift that Cenk is running has ran its course. But he's not lying about Sharpton. It's like I said, it's almost like the pot calling the kettle black. But let's go ahead and get to the rest of this so that way we can go ahead and get to the overall point of this.
You know why? Because he's now part of the establishment. So now his new mob, the establishment cartel, protects Al Sharpton, and as he runs the scam time and time again. And there he is sitting on Morning Joe as they lecture about good journalism, a story we covered earlier in the show, right?
Wow.
Come on.
Look, I knew some of that about Al Sharpton. I didn't know about him shaking down businesses in New York with allegations of racism.
Oh, I mean, it went on and on. He was in the middle of creating riots. Most, like flammable situations, for lack of a better word, and he would come in there with a match and start lighting things on fire.
Basically, what Cenk is saying is that Al Sharpton is a fire starter. Everywhere he goes, he starts something, and I mean, it gets absolutely crazy. I tell you what, let me just kind of give you guys a little bit more detail on some of those fires that he started. In the case of the Bernard Goetz situation, and I don't want to go too much into detail on this right here because I don't have my notes, obviously, and I'm doing this right off the cuff like you guys are. But if you know the story of Bernard Goetz, you know the story of the subway shooter. Bernard Goetz was a 37-year-old software designer who used to frequent the subway every day. And of course, he would get attacked, get mugged. This is the 1980s. And of course, he eventually got tired of it, bought a gun to protect himself. And there ended up being an incident where he shot some black youths on a subway, people that he thought were about to attack him. Goetz, by the way, was hailed as a hero in the city of New York, but in this case also with Goetz, it was also proven to most people that this city would turn on you if some piece of information came out that did not go in your favor. And obviously there was eventually a situation where one of the boys was paralyzed. I think it was Daryl Caby. I'm not, like I said, I don't have my notes with me, and I do plan on doing that video. It's going to come out sometime next year. It's going to be one of the first videos on that channel, and I'll link some stuff in the description box for you guys. But Sharpton was one of the grifters who basically jumped to the side of the victims, or he started saying the whole, it was all racial was what it was. It was the fact that this guy targeted black people, so therefore he must have been racist. Same situation happened with Tawana Brawley, which, by the way, turned out to be an absolute hoax. And then, of course, the stuff that happened in the 90s. The guy's a serial grifter, he's a serial liar, and he's a serial fire starter. Also, something else, too, to consider was back in 2004, he actually ran for president. Yes, people forget Al Sharpton ran for president in 2004 on the Democratic ticket, and it was basically a message candidacy, which coincidentally is exactly what I thought Trump's presidential campaign was in 2016, but it ended up being a real thing, and ended up voting for the guy in 16, 20, and ended up voting for him again. The guy got elected again. He's about to go into office because people were sick and tired of Al Sharpton. But still, though, the point is this right here. Al Sharpton is a serial liar and serial grifter and fire starter. And now that he's at MSDNC, or he has been for years, I mean, dude, the guy's show is called Politics Nation. Okay, it seems to me like politics is exactly what the man said in the movie The Omen. It's an area of nothing but absolute turmoil and revolution. That's all the hell politics is. But of course, you get at the topic of identity politics, which, by the way, is what the current left in this country, which Cenk is a part of, plays all the time. So, no, I don't view this as a redemption arc. I look at this more as the pot calling the kettle black. But let's watch this last bit.
You set up a nonprofit, they funnel you $500,000, you kiss their ass on air, and if anybody accuses you of anything, you just call them racist. So he's been playing identity politics his whole life. He's nothing but a grifter. So if any of you catch feelings over that, because you were part of his grift and he donated a little bit to your show, or he donated a little bit to your organization, by the way, that's a smart way to run the grift. There you go. And look, I didn't say any of it was illegal. It's my opinion that he's a giant grifter, okay? And you could look up all that information on your own.
Well, Cenk, I'm just going to go ahead and come on out and say, man, that my opinion is that this right here is nothing more than the pot calling the kettle black, like I said earlier. And yeah, it just seems to me like a bad actor calling another bad actor a bad actor. But I'll digress for right now. Scams, shakedowns, they got a history of doing this. Look, I showed you Roland Martin earlier, upset about DEI. They got to keep the grift going. They know that DEI is dead. They know that DEI is dead at department stores. Harley Davidson walked away from it. John Deere walked away from it. Walmart is shutting it down. There'll be more and more companies that say, screw this entire racial nonsense. And of course, the part of their grift that's set to come is that when this information comes out, once we get paid on Christmas, or maybe even before then, they're going to be right out there stirring up another hornet's nest. This right here is what the hell they do. However, the thing is this right here, there are some people who are beginning to finally pick up on it. As a matter of fact, I would say that it was over 77 million people who actually picked up on it and said, to hell with this, we don't like the racial grift anymore. Which coincidentally makes me think that over the next few weeks, you may see these people go out there and try to start something around Christmas, or maybe after Trump gets in office that will be racially related. I'm just saying be on the lookout for it, because these people never really and truly stop. They do become less and less relevant. Now it's at the point in time to where people can actually see that, yeah, these people really and truly are a burden, and most of the country agrees that these people are a burden, but the grift will always continue with these people. But that right there brings me to my final point, and you guys will see this in Tuesday's video when I talk about the issue with, or I talk about the debate that he did with Hassan over Thanksgiving. I do not believe that Cenk Uygur is in the middle of a redemption arc or anything like that. The tweets that he put out about left-wingers being nice people and sweet and whatnot, and basically saying they want to work together with MAGA, and he agrees with what Elon Musk is doing, which of course he'll probably echo, because Bernie Sanders came out recently and said that he agreed with Elon Musk in the fact that there needed to be a audit of the Pentagon, which is very, very odd. Why is that people are calling this a redemption and saying that he's quite frankly based? He's not. What Cenk Uygur is doing is realizing that the grift is up, the grift is done. But that does not mean that he's changed. If anything, the grift means that he knows what the truth is, he knows right from wrong, and everything he's been spouting is good old-fashioned lies and nonsense. I've been saying for a very long time that Cenk Uygur, while it is definitely very possible that he is in fact a progressive, just mostly throws progressive talking points out there as a part of his grift, as a part of his shtick. Yes, he is a liberal. I'm not saying that he's not a liberal. I'm just simply saying that most of it is grandiose and most of it is, in fact, a grift. For the most part, Cenk is a bad actor. And I think it's kind of funny that his way as a bad actor, calling out another bad actor for being a bad actor who's always been a bad actor, but still at the same time, at the end of the day, in my opinion, it just boils down to, yeah, it's just the pot calling the kettle black. But you guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, tell me what you think, and I'll see you guys later.